His Excellency President Paul Kagame. You may kindly be seated.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, I would like to extend on behalf of the youth delegates and the young people and the youth networks and stakeholders present during the Commonwealth Youth Forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the Excellencies who are here, who took time to come and join this roundtable. Secondly, I want to thank the young people. I mean, it is very clear young people have mastery of the challenges we all face together, but also issues and what needs to be done to deal with these challenges. So I wanted to thank you also for that articulation of really what needs to happen and the challenges. I mean, it is clear the way the whole world, and particularly the young people, they face problems of climate change, of unemployment, and access to skills, to finance, to technologies. All of these are things that we have to pay attention to together. So today, I'm sure leaders will have many things to say that will lead us to how we address these challenges. But most importantly, working together is the first thing. Together as members of the Commonwealth, together the young, the old, so that, there are not going to be always just the problems for the youth and then problems for the old and then problems. I think there are those that cut across and we share. So that's why it is important that we work together. So what we can say as leaders, at least on my part, I know similar to others, is to commit ourselves that we shall listen, we shall work together, we shall find solutions along the way. There is no question about it. So the commitment is the most important thing, and we can move along together. Rwanda has 30 years and below, we have 71% of our population. So you can understand we have an idea of what these challenges are. And, but we are more than happy to work with everyone, with the other countries in the Commonwealth, and the young and the old. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to these times ahead of so many challenges, but even more opportunities. So let's find a way. May I now invite or hand over to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Thank you for being here with us as well.
I know there's a tendency when we have gatherings like this where young people come and present and share their perspectives, for a lot of us in the room to nod and say, those young people are the future leaders of the Commonwealth. You are the leaders of tomorrow. And I don't want anyone to think about that anymore with you young people. We don't need you to be leaders tomorrow when you do a few more years of school and work your way into politics or business and then suddenly become leaders. We need you to be the leaders you are today. We need to recognize that the words you have today, the voices you have today, and not just the things you can tell leaders like us that we should be working on, but the things you can do and must do yourselves is what the world needs, is what the Commonwealth needs. to build on what Paul has said. We need you acting. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we're empowering you as much as we can. So it's important to have these sessions now where you get to report directly to a collection of us of all the things you're working on. But what happens between Commonwealths as well? How we actually empower you to weigh in and shape the things, whether it's educational programs and the jobs of tomorrow, or whether it's economic opportunities, or whether it's fighting climate change. You should be directly contributing to the policies and the positions that the Commonwealth puts forward as an organization, and that all of us bring back to our countries as well. It is more than just checking in with young people, because what we need right now in all our governments, in all our organizations, is more long-term thinking. Politicians, we tend to work on a shorter-term cycle. What's gonna help me get reelected? What's gonna matter to people who are worried about inflation and the cost of food, the cost of fuel right now? And yes, that's really important, and we stay focused on that. But we also have to know that the decisions we take now will resonate for a decade, for a generation, for 100 years, particularly when we talk about things like climate change. And that's where your perspective of not thinking about, well, what are you going to be doing next year or the year after that? Well, how are you going to be living 20 years from now? What kind of future do you want to build for your grandkids, which you haven't really thought about yet? That level of thinking is essential in government. One of the things that Canada did when I first got elected was I created the Prime Minister's Youth Council. And it's, well, lots of people have youth councils, and it's a very trendy thing to do as politicians. But what we made sure to do is actually connect those young people to the levers of power, to shaping policy, to sitting down and working with ministers on different things. And yes, they reshaped Canada's youth policy that made it into legislation and is now shaping the way we actually engage and empower young people. But they also weigh in directly on issues like reconciliation with Indigenous people and how the government's doing on that, and climate change. And they're helping shape policy in a way that isn't just, well, this is what young people think, I hope government takes it away and does something with it. And that's what we need from all of you. We need you to be involved, but we also need one other thing. All of you who are sitting in this room, engaged in leadership and politics, you have 6 or 7 friends, or maybe 20 friends, who are impressed that you're doing this, but could never see themselves doing this, or don't particularly want to be interested in politics. Don't think it has anything to do with them. You need to help us, as leaders, as organizations, connect with them too. Because if we don't bring all young people along in demanding and shaping the better future for themselves, for their community, for the Commonwealth and the world, then we're missing an opportunity to actually get it right. And right now, the amount of trouble in the world means that if we don't empower you to help shape how we all fix it, then we're not going to get it right. So I am deeply, deeply grateful to see all of you here and look forward to continuing to work with you and a lot of exciting young people like you in the coming years as we tackle these big problems and solve them together. Merci, mes amis.
I take my lead from the President of Rwanda, essentially in wanting to say any approaches that we take have to be holistic or whole of society approaches. Governments can no longer do things by themselves, whether we ever thought we could do things by ourselves. But I think there is a growing acknowledgement that governments are not enough. And in going forward, we need to ensure that all of society is involved. And I think we are at a juncture that gives us the opportunity to reimagine where we thought we were going and how the crises confronting us, the pandemic, the climate change, and I really do, from a small island state, it has become very apparent that we do need to reimagine. We need to reframe, redefine our development concepts. And it's also, and I think all this is premised on what are the values that we want to ensure is the basis from which we work. And one of the messages I've received again and again at this meeting, at the ministerial level and at the leaders level, is that value of care for each other. That each of our survival is dependent not only on looking out for your interests, but looking out for the greater interest. So one last practical thing. As small island countries reporting to various agencies, so perhaps the SDGs is one reporting, because it does give us an idea of what we're doing, how we're progressing, and if in fact what we thought we were doing is the right thing to do. So, just from a practical point of view, in Samoa, we have quite a few programs going, as I'm sure in many other countries. We have, of course, the youth farmers, the youth internships, our street vendors back to school program, green jobs for green work, young weavers program. We have a seasonal workers scheme, and the Youth Entrepreneurs Council under our Chamber of Commerce. And we have the Youth Employment Program, the Youth Co-Lab, and it's supported by UNDP and ILO. So I just wanted to put it on the table because I think it's important when we're having these kinds of discussions that we can actually hang, some of the concepts and ideas that we're talking about some of the actual work that we're doing. And it's good also with our youth leaders here, whether you are thinking these have been useful, if they are good, if they're not, why are they not working? So thank you very much.
We have been on a long journey in the last 6 years, and we have listened to each other so trenchantly. When we came together in Uganda, we made a number of promises to each other. And I heard you when you said, we don't want to be on the menu, we want to be round the table. And so I feel immense pride in each and every one of you. And you know that the 60% of the Commonwealth who are under the age of 30, you're all mine, every single one of you. And the pride I feel today is immense, because you have demonstrated why the chairs in which you today sit should be owned by you, are owned by you. And I want to say to each and every one of you how profoundly proud I am of you, and how much love and affection I have for each of you. Because you today have spoken not just for yourselves, but you've spoken for the 1 billion more young people who cannot be here, whose voices are rarely heard, but all of our leaders are listening to you. Today is a moment for us to reset the agenda, for us to start to reimagine what our world could be, what our world should be. And you are shaping it for us and with us. If you look at who the real innovators are, they are people under the age of 30. If you look at the new geniuses that are coming up, and I'm thinking of your brother or your sibling who's 12, some of them are 9. And they are gaming, and they are reshaping. And we are determined to reshape with you.